Welcome to Buckets, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. My name is Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined for this weekend recap and awards picture look by Jay Money. Follow him on Twitter at JMoneyIsMoney. Jay, how was the weekend, my man?
Everything's going good, man. Still here, still breathing. Gonna take some wins, gonna take some losses as well, but we're here to fight another day, right? So I'm always looking towards the present. It's not really about the past. Just trying to talk some basketball with you, man.
Let's do it. We're going to get into the biggest stories from the weekend in the NBA, the biggest covers. We'll talk a little bit about MVP. We'll talk about the Western Conference and give you some plays on that as well. At the end of the show, we'll do best bets for Monday's episode. All right, Jay, let's start here. The Philadelphia 76ers had themselves a pretty big road trip this weekend. So Friday night, it was a tough one to the Warriors. They've got a back-to-back. Harden doesn't play in either game with Achilles soreness. Embiid's questionable. He's been pretty banged up, but he plays in both games, which I thought was like really noticeable that Embiid would actually go not only play in the Warriors game, play a pretty tough game in that one, come back the next night, and then play in Phoenix. They lose both. And so, as a result, Sixers have lost a little bit of steam in the race for the Eastern Conference #1 seed. They had an outside chance of catching Milwaukee last week. Now they're all of a sudden they're 4 back. So that's pretty much going to be done. The Bucks will likely end up with a top 2 seed, and Sixers won't be able to get past them. Sixers can still catch Boston. Milwaukee and Boston play on Thursday, so there's a chance there. I will tell you this. We'll talk about the MVP in a second. I am a little concerned that the Sixers are going a little like, as somebody that I bet a little Sixers, and it's in the app. Like I put some parlays in on them to win the East and the Suns to win the Western Conference. I've got those kind of plays that I put in the app. I'm a little concerned that Embiid is going so hard for this MVP that he's going to run out of steam here. Like I am all for players playing in back-to-backs. I admire it. I applaud it. I appreciate that Joel Embiid tried to give the fans good games. I appreciate that from him. For this dude with his injury history, now is not the time to be gunning on back-to-backs. He's got 3 and 4 coming up against Joker on Monday. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I am a little bit concerned that for the long term, as far as like if we move past the MVP conversation, and the whole thing with Draymond, where he told Draymond, yeah, you said that Joker was the best player in the world, so I had to show you, and that's why I showed you in a loss. Like, I'm just like, that's not where I want Embiid's head to be at if you're trying to win a title right now. Even beyond that, just like from a simple, you got to rest him at some point. Like you're not gonna fall out of the top 3. I'm a little concerned that they're gunning a little hard. Like he specifically is gunning a little hard for the MVP right now.
Yeah, I mean, but on the other end, Matt, they're just playing basketball, right? I mean, I know, so it's not really unheard of for guys to play every game if you're healthy. Now, I know that he has injury history. I know it's a new form of basketball as well, but I'm not mad. Now, I will give you that. I mean, you can't be losing by 20 on that back-to-back where you could have just sat that one out if it was
Right.
basically a scheduled loss. Go ahead and get ready for this NBA TV game versus Jokic. Go ahead and try to ball out in that one. So I am a bit surprised that they played that he played versus Phoenix, but we can't forget that Jalen McDaniels has been banged up as well. He's literally their best perimeter defender. They got this guy from the Hornets mid-season. I mean, he's just added even more to their depth, and also James Harden has been out as well, so he somewhat had to go ahead and play to kind of weather the load for his other guys being out. But he did just come out and say that that he needs to take some time off here pretty soon. He needs a day off, that he's tired. So we'll see if he rests versus the Nuggets. It would be huge for me if he did. I mean, that would be very eye-opening as well, especially versus the guy he's competing versus the MVP against. But can't wait to see if he's going to play versus the Nuggets.
So let's get into that. I think the Monday's game, and currently, as we're recording this on Sunday night, Nuggets are a 5-point favorite. Total is 228.5. I will have a best bet on this play later. Um, from the MVP perspective, I've been saying this. There's no reason for Embiid to play in this game. Like, it may look bad. Everybody be like, he's ducking him. But like, look, it's a 3rd and 4 nights. He just played the back-to-back. Try to get 2 good wins. You're on a West Coast road trip. It's pretty clear he's banged up. He can't win any, like he could. He could, like, I expect if he plays, he's gonna try and rip Joker's head off, figuratively. But like, it's gonna be hard to top what he did to him in the first game, where he dominated that 4th quarter, won that game. Big comeback versus the Nuggets, who were up in Philly. Like, what's the win for him in this situation? Versus if he doesn't play, you don't give him that extra data point. It's all risk here for Embiid from an MVP perspective. Do you think it hurts his case with the voters if he doesn't play in this game?
I think it hurts his case a little bit, but I think he has it. As long as he doesn't get injured, and as long as he keeps this up, like going for 30 and 10 every time he's out there, I think it's his. I
Yep.
think we're pretty much there, or they don't want to give Jokic three straight. Now, in all honesty, I'm with him. I know that this is the main year. I'm not going to get into it too much. This is the main year Jokic should get it, but I mean, it's just really hard to give a guy that hadn't really proven himself in the playoffs three straight MVPs. So I think it's Embiid to lose here, whether he plays or not, but. Personally, I'd like to see him go ahead and go out there and try to get the win. I'd like to see Harden. We know that Harden is most likely to come back here. What if they get Harden, McDaniels, Embiid? I mean, try to
Yeah.
go for this win, man. It's a big
Yeah.
game, man. Reds versus Dallas next game.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is if you go through and you get this win, okay, you stop the 2-game losing streak, you're going to get the 3 seed. There's an outside chance that if Milwaukee beats Boston on Thursday, you could be like a game behind them. You might be able to catch Boston, sneak into a 2 seed, get yourself home court for a potential second round series. Like this, but this one would be big, right? Like, and the big fella wants it, and that's okay that the big fella wants it. I think I'm with you that I think that I don't necessarily know that I don't think him missing this game would change it. I don't think that like people would punish him by being like, well, he didn't play in that second matchup, so I'm not going to give it to him. No, like, now if they keep losing, that's a different matter because just like it was with the Nuggets, when the Nuggets started like really losing on top of all the discourse conversation, it changes the discussion. The recency bias is really important here because these guys are so close. Jokic does get the win over Giannis and the Bucks, who, again, I want to credit the Bucks. Back-to-back in altitude. They got the Utah-Denver back-to-back. That is always a spot the teams mail in one of those games. Always. And the Bucks played in both of them. And yeah, like the Bucks smashed the Jazz and sat from like they only played starters 25 minutes. You still had to go through prep. You had to still go through conditioning, still had to go through pregame, still had to go through everything. Then they got travel. They get into Denver. They got the 700-hour drive from the airport in Denver. You get in late, and they go ahead and they play that game. And I was at that game. It was an awesome first half, and then the Bucks legs hit, and they got some bad calls, and they unraveled. The referees completely lost control of that game. Nuggets played well. It was a dominant performance by Jokic versus Brook Lopez. Just an absolutely dominant performance. Incredible game by him. I actually think that instead of gaining ground for Jokic in the MVP conversation, I think that mostly lost ground for Giannis. That even though it's a back-to-back and all these types of things, I think it was more that Giannis had more to gain, and he didn't, and he lost, and Jokic didn't really gain any on Embiid, especially with it being an Elite 8 weekend.
Yeah, well, it's simple with me. Giannis has missed too many games to be in a conversation. I know he's played out of his mind. He's probably one of the most unstoppable players in the NBA, but he has missed way too many games, in my opinion, to be in a conversation for MVP.
All right, so we kind of covered that. Let's go to the Western Conference. My head's gonna explode with this conference, Jay. It's gonna explode. I'm doing playoff picture. If you go to the Action Network app, which you should download right now, on the NBA section on the article side, you'll be able to find playoff picture. I'm updating it basically after every result because I have to, because after every single game, these teams are moving multiple slots. Like last week, I was like, well, okay, the Pelicans are probably done. Now, as we're recording this on Sunday night, the New Orleans Pelicans set the 8th seed. Like they went from 11th to 8th. The Lakers went from, hey, they could be the 5 seed by the end of the weekend to they're all the way back down to 9 after losing to the Bulls. They get a huge win on Friday versus the Thunder. Thunder looked like they had all the momentum in the world, lost tiebreaker to the Lakers. They're in 10th. The Mavericks, who 2 weeks ago we were like, yeah, it's probably going to be Phoenix Dallas. That's probably going to be the matchup in the first round. Dallas is on the outside now. Dallas is now 11th. They lost to Charlotte twice. So it's complete chaos. From a betting perspective, futures wise, I want to ask you this. You got all these teams I think that bettors are going to want to glom onto, which is the Warriors, who took a tough loss to the Wolves at home. That was a great win for the Wolves on Sunday night. You get their defending champs, etc. You got the Lakers with LeBron comes back on Sunday, even though they lose. Now you got LeBron and AD back. Who's going to want to bet against them in a play-in type environment? If they get in a 1-8 or a 2-7, are you really going to feel good about Nuggets or Grizzlies versus LeBron? You got those teams. You've got teams like the Clippers. If PG comes back in 2 weeks, Clippers have actually played pretty well lately. Like they turned a corner. And then again, like they had another game where it's like, what are you guys doing versus the Pelicans on Saturday night? All these teams are inconsistent. There is nobody in this conference that has proven that they deserve the absolute trust. There is no easy answer here. There is no simple answer here. The closest thing is probably the Suns because Kevin Durant comes back on Wednesday and they're undefeated with KD. Now, small sample, lots to figure out here. And clearly the Suns have some deficiencies around the roster because they've struggled so much without KD. But if I told you, like, okay, you got to lay, I got to like ballpark this, you got to lay minus 200 on Nuggets, Grizzlies, Kings, Suns, or I'm going to give you plus 160 on one of the rest. Okay. What are you taking?
You're saying to win the West, right?
To win the Western Conference.
I gotta go with one of the top four. I do think the Kings are gonna make it out the first round, could possibly get bounced in the second, but I do think when it's all said and done, it's gonna be out of the Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Suns. When it's all said and done, like I say, I mean the Lakers, they'll be lucky to win a playoff series. It depends who they get matched up with, but Denver is especially at the house. At the house, they can really clamp down on defense. They're making their shots. I mean, when a team like that with the potent offense, when they're playing defense, they're going to be absolutely scary. So if they have the home court advantage, I don't really see them get knocked off at the house, and they've shown they can win on a big game on a road as well. So this might be I can tell you this is Denver's. This is one of their best shots right now, in my opinion. The Grizzlies are still there because they can somewhat match up well with the Nuggets and kind of muscle kind of be the enforcer there. But yeah, I'm still kind of scared of the Suns there. They got to get right defensively, but when Kevin Durant comes back. I mean, that's going to be when Devin Booker being the two, and you can't just focus on Booker, and they have Aiden Mack. That would be scary if KD could like come back to elite form. Obviously, he wouldn't have much time, but it's going to be good. But I do think the Nuggets, the Grizzlies, and the Suns are far and above the rest of them. I think Clippers, for a while, I was a believer, but now I'm kind of I feel like Glue is. He has his head elsewhere. I really think he's tired of coaching these guys. They keep getting injured left and right. I think the Clippers are out of contention. I'm sorry. It hurts me to say it, but I think they're out of there.
Usually by this time of year, I can be like, I can go down the list of teams and be like, nope, 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 no, just red X marks on all these teams. Be like, they're not winning the title. They're not winning the title. Like last year, I would have been like, yeah, no, the Jazz are not winning this. Nope, this team isn't going to get there. Dallas is not going to get there. We said it. We said last year, we were like, Memphis is not going to get there. You know, I narrow it down. Denver is not going to get there, etc. I don't know that I have that same ability right now. You know, in the Action Network Slack, folks are put a little bit down on Pelicans 100-1. And like I want, you know, usually I'm the one that shuts down fun in that channel to be like, come on, guys, let's be serious. Zion gets back, like, who knows? Like you wind up in I'm serious, you wind up in like a 2-7 versus Memphis without Steven Adams, without Brandon Clark, with all the stuff going on with Ja, and you got Zion back in the fold with this team that looked horrible for 2 months, looked awesome for 2 months, looked terrible for 2 months, and now is like up and down. You know, I can't tell anybody like, oh, that's a bad bet. Like, there's nobody I could say like that's a bad bet. If Dallas gets its shit together, they still have Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. You know, and it's just like, and for me, especially right now, Jay, trying to find like what's the buy low spot. I don't know because I don't know who's high right now. Like, what's the high mark in the Western Conference? You look at the odds over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Suns are plus 270. Nuggets are plus 290. Makes sense. Warriors are next up at plus 440. The 6 seed Warriors, who are this season 9-29 away from Chase Center, are plus 440, third best in the West. Grizzlies at plus 440, Clippers at plus 950, Lakers at plus 2100. Like the Lakers in 9 are at plus 2100, tied with the 3rd seed Sacramento Kings are going to win the division. I mean, I don't know how to tell people to buy low because I don't know who's high right now.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, it sounds crazy, but the buy low would have to be the Nuggets there in theory, like not at the favorite, right? Because you're saying the Suns are still the favorite at plus 270. I'm sorry. I mean, I'd have to just take the plus 290 with the Nuggets. If it happened to be Nuggets and Pelicans and they did make it that far, I think the Nuggets would end up getting it there just because the Pelicans would still struggle offensively, even with Zion there. The bench they would still struggle offensively. I feel like mainly when the bench comes in. So. Call me crazy, but I do think this is the Nuggets' year to lose it. Like if they miss it this year, I mean, I'm not, especially with the reinforcements they have. I don't know. I'd be surprised, man. I'd be surprised if they didn't get there.
All right, let's do some best bets for the Monday slate. You got best bet for me for Monday?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just alluded to it too. I'll tell you this. I'm not taking it overnight. I'm gonna wait until I get the best number. I'm taking the Dallas Mavericks tomorrow, Matt. I know it's ugly.
Whew,
But this is one
whew.
I have to Luca, look, but Luca will be out. I mean, I'll
Yep.
explain it later, but Luca will be out. And that's when I like the Mavs. I believe they're
Okay.
4-1 straight up without Luca. If I'm not mistaken, it could be 4-2, but they play a lot better. I actually think that he's the problem right now, as much as they people think that it's Kyrie.
All right. I've got two for the Monday slate. First one's going to be the under in Philadelphia, Denver, 228.5. And then the second play that I'm going to have is, I think I want to talk about this one because I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm leaning towards Wolves plus 5.5 versus the Kings.
Okay.
And we gotta talk about it. Let's get into the Mavs. All right, so Mavs, as you mentioned, Luka Doncic picks up a 16th tech versus the Charlotte Hornets, and their second loss to the Hornets. Bryce McGowan's, who's a 29% shooter on the season, looked great in that game today. Really impressed with that kid. Like the young Hornets. This is the first time I've looked at the Hornets, like the young dudes like JT Thor, Bryce McGowan, some of these younger dudes, have been like, okay, like there's something there. It's been a while since I felt that way about the Hornets. Dallas is a 1-point favorite on the road versus Indiana. Indiana, obviously, shifting priorities. They have let go of the rope. They seem fine with how this is going to go. You mentioned it. The
Okay.
record with Luka and Kyrie together is poor.
Mhm.
The record with Luka without Kyrie is poor. But give me your cap for this one.
Man, I know Kyrie's banged up. He's not 100%. I mean, he has a bum toe, but I feel like he's trying to do everything he can to help these young guys out, to help the team. Kyrie, this is what people don't know. He's actually being more of a team player right now than Luka Doncic. I really think Luka's the problem right now. He slows the team down. Remember, they want to run fast pace. They want to get up and down. Luka's walking the ball to court, and they're getting pissed off at him for not playing any defense. That's what I believe the talk was at halftime about. Luka's not playing a lick of defense, and he spends half his time out there talking to the refs, man, trying to complain for foul calls here. So, first game home off a 4-game road trip for the Pacers. They've played 7 of their last 8 games on the road. So they come back to the house. They do have the Milwaukee Bucks on deck, which, I mean, the Pacers aren't really getting up for any of these games right now. They're starting Benedict Mathurin and sitting Buddy Hield. That lets me to believe that they're trying to play the young guys here. And we've heard it come out of Carlisle's mouth as well. They're switching up lineups. They're kind of playing for next year, right? They really had an outside chance to make the play-in tournament, but it seems to me as if they've given up, this is an absolute must-win spot for the Mavs. It doesn't mean that they are going to win it, but I'll go with it. Matt, I found some old casino tickets. They were with the Mavs as well. No lie, I'm telling you, I had took them on the money. I said, this is epiphany right now. I'll take the Mavs tomorrow. It's a back-to-back, but I'll tell you this, I'm not taking a -1. Let's wait to see what's up with Turner. Luka will be out. The Pacers might flip to a favor here regardless. I like the Mavs here. I like them up to -3 in this game. Give me the Mavs here full game.
Mavericks are hoping to get the 16 technical on Luka Doncic rescinded. Don't think it's going to happen.
Please,
So
please no. Please, I do not
probably
want Luka. If you see Luka here, do not bet this game.
do not bet if the best player on the team is playing. Got it. This very NBA cap.
No,
That's
no,
a
I like it. I like it regardless, man. In all
okay.
honesty, I
Okay.
don't give a damn who plays. Mavs getting the win tomorrow.
All right. I like under 228.5 in Nuggets Sixers. I'll have a same game parlay up on this. You can catch in the app as well. I project this down at 220.5, so I've got an 8.5 point edge here. The under in Nuggets home games has been terrific this season. It is a kind of a hidden gem that if you are keen to it because of the perception of the Nuggets, you wind up feeling differently. Jay kind of mentioned it that there's this idea of who they are. They actually kind of when they're in Denver, they actually do defend. They tend to lock in, and this is a bigger game for them. The under in Nuggets home games this season 20, 16, and 1. That's it's roughly at 55%. It's good enough for me to get home here on, especially with the edge. If Harden doesn't play, obviously limited offense for the Sixers, tired spot for the Sixers 3 and 4. The bigger thing here is just going to be pace, though. This is just, it's going to be a lot of Jokic and Embiid. It's going to be a lot of walking the ball up. The Nuggets play slow at home. I had the under in that game the other night with the Bucks, and even though the Bucks, like, those two teams went out and they were hitting everything in that first quarter. It was awesome shot making, good defense. Guys were just making tough shots, and I was like, oh, I'm dead. We still hit the under in that game because the pace slowed down as the game went on, and that's going to happen more and more in altitude. It's going to happen more and more on this West Coast road trip. The line on this is 5. I've got it 5.3, so it's right around where I think it should be. I think this line's appropriate. I will tell you, I could never bet Denver here. There is no situation in which I could bet Denver. I could only bet Sixers. I do not have a number edge on it based off of how good Denver is at home, so I will not. Even if Embiid plays, Embiid doesn't play, I can only bet Sixers, and I don't have an edge on it. But I will say that, if there's an opportunity to bet live with the Sixers, if the Nuggets go up early, I will probably look for Sixers again live, just because I do think that the motivational edge, I 100% believe that the Sixers, and particularly Joel Embiid, wants to win this game more than Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets do. And so to me, that's enough of an edge, but I don't like the number, so I'm not going to play it. But I like the under here. You got thoughts on the biggest game of the night tomorrow versus the Sixers and the Nuggets?
I wouldn't be so. The Nuggets have the advantage in the first quarter in theory, especially we've been at the house back-to-back home games. But yeah, I could only look towards Sixers as well. I would really like to have Embiid in there. And Harden is expected to play from my info that I have is he's expected to come back this game. So personally, I would wait for the total to go up a little bit. I do think it's gonna go. I do think it's gonna go up at least a couple of points when Harden gets ruled in. Obviously, Embiid that could fluctuate, but 5 straight unders for the Nuggets here. They've been playing at the slowest pace in the NBA in the last 5 games. So definitely couldn't talk you off of under. This will be a defensive playoff style type of game. I was kind of looking towards the under here as well.
Other one. All right. So the Kings can clinch their first playoff appearance since 2006 with a win tomorrow. They're at home versus the Timberwolves, who are on the second night of a back-to-back after a big road win versus the Warriors. Kings are 5.5-point favorites. So I start from a number perspective. Okay. If we ignore the context of the situation, I've got this Kings -2. Even if, the books like to attach 2.5 for the back-to-back, I think that's excessive, right? These guys know how to do it. It's been done. I think if we look at the matchup, I don't hate the matchup with, you got Towns and you got Gobert. It's a lot of physicality. This Wolves team is a better defensive team, I think, that people kind of realize they are. And so, leans a little bit that way. So I've got a number edge on it. Wolves this season on a back-to-back are 7-5 ATS. So I lean towards Wolves. I just don't know if I want to be betting. You talk about a motivation spot. What I want to ask you, and you're really good with these kind of caps, Jay. I don't know if this is a spot where the Kings are going to be, there's so much tension and energy in the building, if that pushes them, or if it makes them nervous and they tighten up a little bit and the Wolves are able to hang in there and get it done. Because the Wolves are in this thing. They're in the play-in. It's every game. Every night's a playoff game for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They got to win every single night. So they're living in pressure, right? 5.5. I think these teams are closer than that number indicates, especially with Cat back. And so I kind of lean towards Wolves here, but there's that part of me that's just really, this is the biggest night of the Kings season in 20 years, and you're going to bet against them. So I wanted to get your thoughts on what the motivation spot is.
Well, first off, the Wolves have already beaten them in this spot. They came off a back-to-back. I don't have the exact spot pulled up, but they came off a back-to-back. I believe it was a loss though, and they came in there and beat the Wolves by they beat the Kings by 4 points, 138-134. And what's crazy is the Sacramento Kings are the third worst team in the NBA with the rest advantage, and it's crazy because that's where you're supposed to take advantage of teams. But they're 7-14 against the spread in those spots as well. So I do remember a scenario where the Wolves did get it done. They do own the season series 2-1. I was with you. I was leaning Wolves as well, but I didn't expect them to beat the the Warriors tonight though. So they are coming off a high. They do need every win, but I'll be honest. I'm scared to fade the Kings right now, especially at the house. Fox did get upgraded to questionable, so whether his quad is 100% or not, looks like he's probably going to play here. So the line could get better, and you always know when a player is coming back from an injury, you never know when they're going to sit out the back-to-back. So I do think Anthony Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns possibly could sit this game out. If I had to guess one, it would probably be Karl Anthony Towns. I think Anthony Edwards would suit up if he could. So I lean Timberwolves here as well, but I would wait to it. You could probably get north of 7 here once you see who all is playing. I definitely think one of those guys are sitting on this back-to-back though.
Yeah, let's wait. Let's wait. I'll say that keep download the app, turn on notifications. I might put this one in, but I want to see what the injury report looks like for the Wolves tomorrow, because Wolves may be like, look, we got the Warriors win. Like we can't burn ourselves out, even though we're in such a tough spot. Especially with Cat coming off of injury and Ant coming off of injury. You're right. Let's wait for the injury report. Plus, it's early, but a lot of the early money is already coming in on Kings. So
Matt, one thing I was looking at the under in this one. I know Fox is going to come back, but you mentioned Timberwolves being that great of a defensive squad. Even if Cat sits, or I mean, obviously that's going to hurt their offense. As long as they have Gobert and Jaden McDaniels out there, the defense is going to be great. Guys like Kyle Anderson as well playing some good defense. And the Kings at the house, they've been playing playoff style type of games. I think this one goes under. It should be somewhere around 240, close around 240, 241 when Fox comes in. I think this will be a playoff style type of game, and it'll go under.
So I have numbers for this for under. The problem for me is the Kings overs in Kings home games are 24, 12, and 2, 67%. So like that trend's enough for me to just be like, let's not try and go against how good the Kings offense is. I like Kings unders on the road because their defense, I think, plays a little bit better than expected, and everyone kind of expects them to always be these high gunning affairs. It's really just at Golden Center. So I'm gonna stay away from that one, but it's an interesting one to look at. All right, that's Jay Money. You can follow him on Twitter at JMoneyIsMoney. Our thanks to David Payne, our producer. Appreciate him helping us out with the episode. We'll be back tomorrow with another Best Buds episode. It'll actually be Sean Little, Jay Money, and Albert Wynn, the Analytics Capper, tomorrow night for your Tuesday episode. On Tuesday morning for the Best Bets episode. Make sure to follow Jay on Twitter at JMoneyIsMoney. You can follow me on Twitter at HP Basketball. Download the Action Network app. Check out the playoff picture. And we'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.